Okay, let's try this again. So I attempted to record this, which it did record. The problem was I forgot to turn on the main board that the sound chip is plugged into, which it didn't actually pull anything. It didn't push anything to the chip, so it's still emulated software wide. But let's try this again. So I woke up this morning and I got really curious about the drums that I tend to use, because usually I would use software plugins that don't have any hardware attached to it to make them work to make my FM sounds. Um, and the thing about that is, while they do a really good job, there are certain sounds that they don't do the best in, depending on the plugin you go with. Um, so I got curious and I decided to make a snare sample that I know of from one of my favorite tracks in a game called Brandish 3. And one of the snare samples happens to actually be from a specific song where, after you take the king's castle back and you speak with the king after freeing him from jail and whatnot and fight the boss, there's a song that kind of plays and the snare just sounds really good because it's like a marching snare style. Now, when you play the snare in like something that isn't hardware related, you kind of get something that sounds like this, where you have that really high sound that kind of mixes in that you can hear easily. But if we switch this to the chip, to the actual hardware, that mixed sound is gone. So I need to learn how to use this chip more, because there are multiple channels on it. There's 6 FM channels, 3 SSG channels. There is an 80 PCM channel, which allows me to upload samples to that channel that can play. That's probably going to be the last thing I learn, because I need to learn everything else first. And there's 6 fixed rhythm channels that are for specific drum samples that the chip has. And I need to figure out how to get FL Studio to not only pick up the sound to where it can be heard within FL Studio, so I don't have to change windows to allow me to listen to the line in itself, but also allow me to communicate with each channel individually for the sounds that I want. That's the main thing that I'll be focusing on in particular, is how to get access to those channels properly. But yeah, I just wanted to go over with what I learned. I think getting 80s, 90s FM hardware, if you're really interested into making FM sounds that you would normally hear from like a Sega Genesis or a PC-98 or a FM Towns PC, a YM2608 is definitely the chip to go with. It is a very, very good chip.